From the sun-drenched hills of ancient Israel, an extraordinary tale of faith and destiny unfolds. A humble shepherd boy named David, tending his father's sheep, unaware of the extraordinary path God had prepared for him. But God does not see as man sees. The Lord looks at the heart, not outward appearance. And so, Samuel anointed David, setting him apart from among all his brothers for a destiny greater than any could imagine. Across the valley of Elah, a terrifying champion emerged from the Philistine ranks, Goliath, a giant over 9 feet tall. For 40 days, his challenge echoed, paralyzing the soldiers of Israel with dread. No one dared to answer. "The battle is the Lord's," David declared, choosing 5 smooth stones from the brook, trusting in God alone. With one swift motion, the stone flew, and the mighty giant crashed to the ground. God's power triumphed over human might. Israel erupted in triumph. The shepherd boy had become a hero, and his name rang throughout the land. But David's triumph planted a dangerous seed. As the women sang his praises, a dark jealousy was born in King Saul's heart. Consumed by rage, Saul hurled his spear at David, not once, but twice. The king had become the enemy. Yet in the midst of danger, David found a bond stronger than blood, the friendship of Jonathan, Saul's own son. With Saul's fury mounting, David was forced to flee, escaping through a window into the night, a fugitive from the throne. David became a man on the run, hunted by the king he once served, seeking refuge in caves and wilderness. In the cave of En-Gedi, an extraordinary moment arrived. Saul entered the very cave where David hid. David's men urged him, "Now is your chance." But David only cut a corner of Saul's robe. He would not harm God's anointed. Even this small act troubled David's conscience. His mercy moved Saul to tears, a moment of broken humanity between hunter and hunted. In Carmel, a wise woman named Abigail rushed to intercept David, preventing him from shedding blood in anger. And once more, in the dead of night, David entered the camp of the sleeping king, spear and water jug within reach. Who can raise a hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? Again, David chose mercy over vengeance. But the shadow of war gathered. King Saul, abandoned by God, sought forbidden counsel from the medium of Ender. The prophecy was devastating. "Tomorrow, you and your sons will fall." At Mount Gilboa, the tragic end came. Then, from every tribe of Israel, the elders came to David at Hebron. The promise was about to be fulfilled. And there, they anointed David king over all Israel, fulfilling God's promise from that distant day in Bethlehem. From a shepherd boy to a fugitive, from a man of mercy to the king of a united nation, David's journey testifies to God's faithfulness. This is the epic story of King David. Every chapter is filled with faith, courage, and the power of God's promise. Join us now and discover the full journey. Subscribe, and let's walk together through this incredible story of faith. The Lord had rejected Saul as king, and Samuel, the aged prophet, mourned deeply for him. His heart heavy, Samuel wrestled with God's decree, finding no comfort in his grief. Then, the powerful voice of the Lord broke through his grief, clear and unwavering.
"Arise, Samuel, and go, for I have chosen from among them a king."
I have heard you. It shall be done.
Samuel obeyed, preparing a heifer for sacrifice and the anointing oil for his secret mission. Under the watchful eye of heaven, Samuel began his discreet journey to Bethlehem. As he neared Bethlehem, the small town appeared, its rooftops shimmering in the sun. The elders of the town, seeing the prophet, came out to meet him, trembling.
Do not be troubled, for the Lord is with us. But Samuel, we have gone astray. Do not be afraid. The Lord is with us.
He speaks the truth. We must follow.
Relieved, the elders quickly departed to prepare themselves according to the law. Samuel then called Jesse and his sons, instructing them to sanctify themselves as well. Jesse and his sons went to sanctify themselves, unaware of the true purpose of Samuel's visit. Soon, the sacrificial fire was prepared, and the altar stood ready for the offering. Samuel began the sacred rites, consecrating Jesse and his sons for the offering.
He is tall and strong. Surely this is the one. See, I told you so. He is magnificent, yes. But Samuel, Samuel, I am here. Speak, Lord, for your servant hears.
For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Abinadab passed by, then Shammah. Each was presented, but the Lord did not choose them. One by one, Jesse brought forth his 7 sons. Yet, for each, Samuel heard no divine affirmation. In the valley of Elah, 2 ancient nations, Israel and Philistia, prepared for a battle of wills. The Philistine host, numerous as the sand, stretched across the western ridge, ready for war. Across the valley, on the eastern ridge, the armies of Israel gathered, facing their formidable foe. Between them lay the vast, dusty valley, a silent, tense chasm awaiting the clash of empires. Then, from the Philistine ranks, a stir. A challenge was about to be issued, unlike any before. A colossal shadow began to fall over the valley, heralding the arrival of their champion. Goliath, the giant from Gath, emerged. His stature alone was a weapon of terror. Clad in bronze, armed with a spear like a weaver's beam, he stood, an imposing figure of dread. Across the valley, the Israelite soldiers watched, their faces etched with dawning horror and disbelief. Goliath advanced, his heavy footsteps echoing across the stillness, a challenge in every stride. Then, his booming voice shattered the silence, a thunderous roar challenging the God of Israel. "Who are you, that you should defy the armies of the living God?" His words pierced their very souls. He mocked their God, daring any man among them to step forward and meet him in single combat. King Saul, the chosen leader, stood among his men, his heart sinking with each blasphemous word. Fear gripped the Israelite camp. No man dared to answer, and despair began to settle heavily. Having sown terror, Goliath turned and strode back, leaving the Israelites paralyzed and shamed. A suffocating silence fell upon the Israelite ranks, heavy with dread. Across the valley, the Philistine giant, Goliath, roared his challenge, his voice echoing through the terrified Israelite camp. Among the fearful soldiers, young David heard the blasphemy, his heart burning with righteous indignation.
Why do you tremble? Why do you let him defy us?
Word of David's audacious spirit reached King Saul. Summoned to the royal tent, David walked with a shepherd's humble confidence. He stood before the king, a youth facing the burden of a nation's despair. Saul, burdened by fear, dismissed the young shepherd's offer.
I have faced the lion and the bear. This Philistine will be no different. The Lord will deliver me.
He recounted how, as a shepherd, he protected his flock from ravenous beasts. A swift memory of a fierce lion, overcome by his shepherd's strength. Then, a bear, wrestled and defeated to save a lamb.
I will go and fight him, for the Lord, who protected me, will also protect me from this Philistine. I have slain both the lion and the bear. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine.
Go, and the Lord be with you.
Saul, seeing David's unwavering faith, reluctantly agreed.
Go. May the Lord be with you, my son.
Thank you, my king.
With the king's blessing, David turned, his mission clear, his steps firm. King Saul, seeing David's unwavering spirit, offered him his own royal armor.
The task is great. Are you prepared to bear the weight of this helmet?
I am ready, my king.
David, accustomed only to the light garb of a shepherd, tried on the heavy helmet. The breastplate, designed for a much larger man, weighed him down, restricting his youthful agility. He found he could barely walk, let alone fight, encumbered by the king's royal gear. David knew this was not his strength. He could not go with these. One by one, he laid aside the heavy bronze, the unfamiliar sword, and the cumbersome shield. Instead, he chose his shepherd's staff, his trusty sling, and his pouch of smooth stones. He walked to a nearby brook, its waters flowing gently over smooth, ancient stones. There, he carefully selected 5 smooth stones, polished by the stream, each one a promise. With his simple shepherd's tools and the courage of unwavering faith, David advanced toward the valley. David, armed with only his sling and unwavering faith, began his courageous walk across the valley floor. Goliath bellowed, his voice a thunderous challenge. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" David, unfazed, declared powerfully, "You come with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts." With astonishing speed and fearless resolve, David charged forward, directly at the massive giant. The sling whirled rapidly, a blur of leather and motion. A small, smooth stone launched with incredible force. The chosen stone struck Goliath's forehead with terrifying accuracy, piercing his thick skull instantly. The colossal giant staggered, his massive frame beginning its slow, thunderous descent. He crashed face first. A hush fell over the valley as David stood, a small figure of victory, over the defeated giant. Disbelief turned to terror. The Philistine army, championless, broke ranks and fled in utter panic. Then, a thunderous roar. Israel's army surged forth from the hills, charging with an unstoppable shout of victory. David's return from defeating Goliath brought unparalleled celebration, but also a seed of jealousy.
Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands.
From that day forward, Saul eyed David with suspicion, his heart consumed by jealousy. But amidst the darkness, an unbreakable bond formed between David and Saul's son, Jonathan.
I covenant with you. I am your brother, Jonathan.
Jonathan sealed their bond, stripping himself of his princely robe, his sword, bow, and belt, and giving them to David.
Hail David, our champion! He has defeated the enemy! Long live the hero!
One day, as David played his lyre, a dark spirit seized Saul, and he hurled a spear at him. David, quick and agile, dodged the deadly weapon as it embedded itself in the wall. Undeterred, Saul sent David on increasingly dangerous military campaigns, hoping the Philistines would kill him. Yet, David returned victorious every time, his fame and favor with the people growing stronger. Desperate, Saul offered his daughter Michal to David, demanding a deadly dowry of 100 Philistine foreskins. David, seeing an opportunity for alliance and love, boldly accepted the perilous condition.
Be careful, this one's heavy. The price is paid. He did it!
Ah! Unbelievable! We'll be ruined!
Thus, David married Michal, daughter of Saul, becoming son-in-law to the very king who sought his life. Saul's madness deepened. He openly commanded Jonathan and his servants to kill David. Jonathan, torn between father and friend, courageously pleaded with Saul, reminding him of David's loyalty. But Saul's heart remained hardened. The evil spirit returned with renewed fury, twisting his thoughts with bitter jealousy. Unaware of the king's darkening obsession, David continued to soothe Saul with his lyre, his music a balm against the torment. Suddenly, without warning, Saul hurled his spear, intending to pin David to the wall. But David, quick and agile, dodged the deadly missile. The spear harmlessly embedded itself in the wall beside him.
No, David! You will not escape me! Come back here, you coward!
Despite the danger, David continued to prosper in all his ways, and his fame grew, endearing him to all Israel and Judah. Saul, seeing David's undeniable success, conceived a new, treacherous plan. He offered his daughter Michal to David.
I demand the foreskins of 100 Philistines as your dowry for my daughter.
Done.
King Saul's jealousy festered, turning into a murderous obsession with David. David, warned of Saul's intent, became a fugitive, constantly on the run. Jonathan, torn between his father and his loyal friend, sought to protect David. He secretly met David, reaffirming their covenant before God.
Richard Basha, your life is in grave danger. You must flee now.
No, it can't be true.
No, it cannot be. The giant, he cannot win.
Jonathan devised a plan for David's escape, using an arrow signal. Jonathan went to the field, sending a boy ahead, then shot 3 arrows beyond him. The boy, unaware of the hidden meaning, retrieved the arrows.
No. It can't be.
After the boy left, David emerged, and they shared a final, tearful embrace. They kissed each other and wept together. Indeed, David wept the most. Their bond, a testament to true friendship, endured even as David embarked on a life of desperate flight. David's first refuge was Nob, where Ahimelech the priest served God. Ahimelech, surprised by David's sudden, solitary appearance, felt a tremor of fear. David, desperate and famished after his flight, pleaded with Ahimelech for sustenance. Ahimelech, hesitant due to the sanctity of the provisions, offered only the holy bread consecrated for priests.
I must have the sword, Ahimelech.
I will use it against Goliath and save our people. Then take it, David. May God be with you.
Ahimelech, trusting David's word and seeing his dire need, gave him the hallowed bread. His hunger momentarily appeased, David then inquired if there was any spear or sword available.
Look in there, David. Your destiny awaits.
A sword?
David took up the familiar sword of Goliath, a powerful symbol of past victory and future struggle. With bread and sword, David fled Nob, seeking refuge in the Philistine city of Gath, a desperate and dangerous move. But in Gath, David was recognized by King Achish's servants. Is this not David, the king of the land? Did they not sing about him? Overwhelmed by fear, David realized the immense peril he faced among his former enemies. In a desperate act of cunning, David feigned madness before King Achish, scribbling on gates and letting saliva run down his beard.
Remove this lunatic from my sight. Row.
Send him away, sire. Look how he behaves.
Just go, now!
Thus, David, spared by his cunning, escaped from King Achish and the Philistines, once again on the run. Alone in the wilderness, David poured out his heart to God, finding strength and refuge in his unwavering trust. David, seeking sanctuary, found refuge in the formidable cave of Adullam. King Saul, consumed by jealousy, relentlessly pursued David into the harsh wilderness of Engedi. David and his loyal men, weary but vigilant, found refuge deep within a vast cave. Unbeknownst to them, Saul's path led him to the very mouth of their sanctuary. He entered alone, seeking privacy, while David and his men watched from the deeper darkness.
Do it now. He's vulnerable. I can't. This is our chance. No.
But David wrestled with his conscience. He would not raise a hand against the Lord's anointed. Instead, David crept forward, a silent shadow in the cave's gloom. He reached out and, with swift precision, cut off a corner of Saul's robe. The act was done. David retreated, holding the proof of his mercy.
I never meant to cause this pain. He would have been safe if I had waited. But I couldn't.
We must rise now. Our cause is righteous, our purpose divine. God is with us.
Saul eventually left the cave, unaware of the life he had been spared. But David would not let him go without a word. He followed, calling out to the king. Saul turned, astonished, to see David bowing low before him. David, now revealed, held up the piece of Saul's robe, a silent testament to his restraint.
I have delivered you this day from the hand of Saul. You are more righteous than I. Forgive me, my son. May the Lord reward you this day.
I come with a message of peace and loyalty, my king.
Good. Is that true, David? Is that what I hear?
I could have killed you, but I did not. Know this, my intentions are pure. How could you have done this?
What are you saying to me?
God, why have you forsaken me? My kingdom is lost. I am lost. I have been foolish. You are more righteous than I. May peace be with you.
Saul blessed David, acknowledging God's hand upon him and the certainty of his future kingship. All Israel gathered and mourned for Samuel, and they buried him in his home at Ramah. The voice of the prophet, who had guided Israel for generations, was stilled. Meanwhile, David, the anointed king, was in the wilderness of Paran, a fugitive with 600 loyal men. They lived off the land, protecting local shepherds from raiders, building a reputation for strength and honor. In Carmel lived a very wealthy man named Nabal, whose possessions included 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. It was the time of sheep shearing, a season of great celebration and feasting, like a king's festival. David sent 10 young men to Nabal, requesting provisions, acknowledging Nabal's prosperity. The young men arrived in Carmel and delivered David's respectful message to Nabal.
And who is David? Should I take my bread and my water and give it to men of whom I do not know where they come from? No! Please, Nabal, consider us! Get out!
He refused to give bread or water to men who had protected his flocks, calling them runaway servants. The young men returned to David and reported all Nabal's scornful words. David's face grew stern. His patience, already tested by Saul, now snapped.
Enough! I will not tolerate this any longer! We attack now!
And David himself strapped on his sword, a grim determination set upon his handsome face. Immediately, his loyal men responded, seizing their weapons with a shared, fierce resolve. 400 men went up with David, while 200 remained to guard the supplies. Their faces were set, their purpose clear. Nabal would pay for his insolence. Meanwhile, a servant, privy to Nabal's insult and David's fury, knew destruction was imminent. He rushed to Abigail, Nabal's wise and discerning wife, to warn her of the grave danger.
You must listen. He plans to attack Pai.
I understand. We must act quickly.
Abigail, understanding the peril, immediately took swift and decisive action. David and Abishai, guided by the pale moonlight, crept deeper into the sleeping camp. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. There, in the very heart of the encampment, lay King Saul, fast asleep, his royal guard around him. Beside him, stuck in the ground, was his spear, and his water jug lay at his head, symbols of his royal authority and his vulnerability. Abishai, David's loyal companion, saw his opportunity, his hand instinctively reaching for his sword. God has delivered your enemy into your hand today. Now let me pin him to the ground with one stroke of the spear. Abishai urged.
No, we will not harm him, but he is in our grasp. I said no. It is God's will to decide.
Instead, David decided to take a silent trophy, a clear sign of his presence and his mercy. Next, he retrieved the water jug from beside Saul's head, performing the act with remarkable stealth. Having secured the proofs of his mercy, David and Abishai slipped away from the camp as silently as they had entered. David and Abishai made their way to a nearby hilltop, a safe distance from the slumbering army below. From this vantage point, David prepared to issue his challenge, a final appeal to Saul's conscience.
Where is King Saul's spear? Wah!
Oh, what was that? Who's there?
Are you not a man, Abner? Who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not guarded your lord the king? Saul, now awake, began to stir, slowly understanding the gravity of the situation. David then held up Saul's spear, a silent, undeniable proof of his passage through the king's very guard. Look, where is the king's spear and the water jug that was at his head? He cried. Then, a familiar voice drifted across the divide, filled with sorrow and recognition. Under the cloak of night, David and Abishai crept silently into the sleeping camp. There, in the center, lay King Saul, surrounded by his trusted men, fast asleep. Abishai whispered, God has delivered your enemy into your hand. Let me strike him down. But David refused. Do not destroy him. For who can stretch out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David and his loyal men made Ziklag their home, a refuge granted by King Achish. To sustain his people, David led raids, not against Israel, but against the Jeshurites, Girzites, and Amalekites. They returned with spoils, carefully concealing their true targets from the Philistines. David then journeyed to King Achish, cleverly deceiving him about the true targets of his raids. Achish believed David was raiding Judahite towns, thus solidifying his trust in David's perceived loyalty. Unbeknownst to David, the Philistine lords began to gather their armies for war against Israel. A vast Philistine host assembled at Aphek, their chariots and foot soldiers stretching across the plain. David and his men marched with King Achish, part of the very army preparing to attack his own people. A profound moral dilemma weighed heavily upon David's heart. How could he fight against Israel? But the other Philistine commanders harbored deep distrust, questioning David's presence among them. King Achish defended David, recounting his loyalty and service in Ziklag. Yet the commanders were unswayed, fearing David would turn against them in battle. Reluctantly, King Achish commanded David and his men to return to Ziklag. Providentially spared from fighting his own people, David led his men away from the Philistine host. A dramatic escape, revealing God's protective hand over his chosen servant. In the Philistine city of Ziklag, David settled his 600 men and their families, carving out a new, precarious existence. King Saul, once a mighty warrior, now felt the crushing weight of God's abandonment. Fear gnawed at his soul as the vast Philistine army gathered. He had sought guidance from the Lord, but received no answer, neither through dreams, nor Urim, nor prophets. Desperate, he decided upon a forbidden path. By night, under the cover of darkness, King Saul disguised himself. With 2 loyal men, he embarked on a perilous journey to Endor, seeking a medium. They reached the secluded dwelling of the medium of Endor. Saul, his voice hushed, made his request.
I must speak to him. Call him forth. This is forbidden. Who are you? Only the Lord's chosen. I beg you.
The medium, wary of King Saul's decree against such practices, initially refused, fearing for her life.
I swear by the Elohard, no harm will come to you for this thing.
I am afraid of what might happen.
Very well.
What do you wish me to do? Do you seek wisdom from the spirits?
Yes. I need to know what lies ahead for me and my army.
The air grew heavy. The medium began her incantations, her voice a low murmur, invoking the spirit of the prophet Samuel. Suddenly, a spectral form began to coalesce from the swirling mist, growing brighter, more defined. It was Samuel. Upon seeing the spirit, the medium cried out in a loud voice, realizing the true identity of her disguised visitor.
You are Saul. You have come to me in disguise. The Lord has forsaken you.
He has indeed forsaken me.
Do not be afraid. Speak, Samuel.
Oh, I beg you, Lord, tell me what to do. Why have you disturbed me?
The medium described Samuel as an old man, wrapped in a mantle, rising from the earth. And Saul knew it was indeed the prophet.
Why have you disturbed me? Tomorrow you will be with me, and the kingdom will be torn from you. Oh, my Lord! Why do you disturb me? Today, the Lord will tear the kingdom from your hands. No! Speak to me! Oh, gods! Your kingdom is torn from you. God has given it to another. Tomorrow you and your sons will be with me.
Overwhelmed by the terrible prophecy, Saul immediately fell full length on the ground, filled with fear. The medium, seeing his utter distress, approached him with a newfound compassion. She urged him to eat, for he had gone without food for a day and a night, his strength entirely gone. But Saul refused, his spirit crushed and his body too weak to obey. David and his men returned to Ziklag, only to find a devastating sight. The Amalekites had raided, burned Ziklag, and taken their wives and children captive. Overwhelmed with grief, David's men spoke of stoning him. But David found strength in the Lord his God. He called for the ephod and inquired of the Lord. The Lord answered, "Pursue, for you shall surely overtake them and shall surely recover all." They found an Egyptian slave, abandoned and starving in the wilderness. After being given food and water, the slave revealed the Amalekites' camp. David led his men in a swift, decisive strike against the unsuspecting Amalekites. From twilight until the evening of the next day, David struck them down. Not one man escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken and rescued his 2 wives. He brought back all, great and small, spoil and sons and daughters. Nothing was missing. David sent gifts of the spoil to the elders of Judah, sharing the blessing God had given. He then reigned in Hebron as king over Judah for 7 years and 6 months. For 7.5 years, David reigned as king over Judah and Hebron, ruling faithfully over his people. Then, from all the tribes of Israel, their elders came to David at Hebron, ready to unite under his leadership. They acknowledged his past leadership and God's divine promise, recalling how he had led them in battle.
The time has come, David. You must face Goliath, for the fate of Israel depends on you.
So all the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron, and David made a covenant with them before the Lord. And there, in Hebron, they anointed David king over all Israel, fulfilling God's long-awaited promise. David's life, a tapestry woven with faith and human frailty, offers timeless lessons for us all. From a humble shepherd, he rose to face giants, embodying unwavering courage. His humility, even in service to a troubled king, spoke volumes of his character. Through years of persecution and exile, his patience and trust in God never wavered. And in God's perfect timing, he was anointed king, fulfilling ancient promises. As king, David united a nation, yet he, too, faced personal failings. His story reminds us of God's unwavering faithfulness, even amidst human imperfection. For God's promises are not dependent on our perfection, but on his steadfast love. David's journey teaches us that true strength lies in faith, courage, and humble dependence on God. His life, with all its triumphs and struggles, points to a greater king, Jesus. We invite you to reflect on these eternal truths. How do they resonate in your own life? Join us in exploring more stories of faith and transformation. Your support helps us share these powerful narratives with the world. Thank you for watching. May David's legacy inspire your own journey of faith. The journey continues, with God's unwavering love guiding every step. Until next time, walk in faith.